Transformers, Autobots, roll out!
What up, Captain Gamester here with Headless Perceptor and his little son, Magnifying Glass. Psych! What we actually have here is the Titan's Return Perceptor, and that means he is a headmaster. And as you can see, the little guy transforms into Perceptor's head, and then his little itty bitty head is going to plug right into that socket there, and that head is also on a ball joint, which means his head will also be able to pivot on a ball joint. And there he is. Would you look at that? And a quick history on Preceptor and I. Back in my childhood, I remember a Christmas party, family friend's house. There was a bunch of other kids over there. And essentially, we were all opening gifts prior to Christmas. I think it was either Christmas Eve or the day before. Anywho, as far as I can remember, the first Transformer I ever got, I opened up that evening, and it was none other than G1 Slag. And I remember thinking, whoa, this is awesome. Dinobot, this guy looks great. He's all chromed out, looking fancy. And then I remember my little, kid friend opened up his, and he actually got a G1 Preceptor, and I was a little bit envious because I was also a science nerd as a kid, and I was really into like experiments and chemistry sets and all that stuff. So I was like, I actually wish I had both of them, so I can conduct little experiments. Anyways, never ended up getting him. Lo and behold, a couple years ago, saw him at Target. So I picked him up. And let's take a look at this guy here. So overall, I'm super happy with this. However, it can definitely be improved. First of all, as you can see, he is pretty hollow. He is a hollow bot. And that to me is a pretty big no-no, meaning his arms are hollow, his legs are hollow. And, you can see all the gaps and stuff like that. Now let's kind of jump into his microscope. As you can see, there's two ways to attach it. You can use the fixed peg because there's a hole basically on that portion, that shoulder mount, but you can also place it on the pivotal shoulder mount and then fold it on over his shoulder. Now, when you look at him from the front, you don't notice the gaps, so that's pretty cool. But again, here in the close-up profile shot of Mr. Perceptor, you can see like a lot of Transformers, his fists fold out and it leaves that huge opening in that gaping hole in his forearm, which I really wish they could do away with. On the more premium Transformers and third parties, they're usually covered up with like a panel or something. And I also got to say, the dials on his arms, you can see those forearm dials are just painted kind of a silvery gray. And that's a pretty big boo-hoo because on the original G1 figure, the dials stuck out a little bit more. I liked how they were like, you can see this little rod and then they protruded out and you can turn them as far as I remember. I don't know exactly if they were metal. I didn't do any research, but you know what? That'd be super cool if they do a future Preceptor masterpiece, hint, hint, and give it some metal discs. And that also goes for the one on top of his microscope right up there. So with that being said, we do have some news of a possible new figure coming from Takara Tomy. And I don't know if it's going to be like a studio series or whatever, but I kind of want to go over this guy too because I'm excited. I mean, I definitely want a masterpiece Preceptor. I think he's a really cool character. Obviously, the smart kind of scientist tech dude, and he's also somewhat of like a biologist as well. And he just he's an all around like intellectual, which makes him really interesting. And here's the gun, and again has a hollow side to it. Has basically handles on either end. Here's the other side, which would be more of like the bottom technically because it has the sniper stand on it. And here we get a little bit of a close shot looking at his headmaster buddy. I forget the name. Nothing too special here. I mean, they got some good details on him, no doubt. He has some nice engraving. The two-tone color is kind of cool. He can just pretty much swivel out his arms. That's the only articulation he has other than his head, which is on a ball joint. And then, of course, his little red legs. And he wears Preceptor's face upside down on his back like a true headmaster. Ain't that cute? Which brings me to the face sculpt of Preceptor. Now, this figure, it's okay. Like, you kind of look at it and you think, yeah, overall it's Preceptor. You can see because he's a microscope, the color, the body overall looks pretty good as far as like the cartoon goes. But I mean, it is pretty inaccurate. It doesn't have the yellow, spot on his forehead, and he kind of has that cheek helmet action going on. His eyes are blue. They come down a little bit lower. The nose is flatter. If you look closely at the cartoon, you'll see what I mean. But I think it's okay. Now here we are transforming him into his microscope mode. It's a fairly easy transformation, so I'll take you along with it. You just kind of want to do the little arm twisty here. Now it's interesting because in the cartoon we see his arms in that same position holding up the microscope, but there is no, black panel. It looks kind of obscured. It's just a blue, the same color of his forearms. It's like the whole area turns to that blue. I've seen other third parties basically just have the arms come all the way in together, which looks great, and then the head usually just tucks into the chest. But here it's almost as if they went a little bit more complex, right? Because they added that extendable black, inner chest spine piece that you lift up. The mount for the microscope is on that metal rod, and you have to slide it on over, and that is not easy. If you really want to, you should maybe put some oil on there. But I mean, it's even after these, I got it when it first came out, and it's still really tight, And then of course the top dial does work. You can, protrude and extend the microscope from that end, and it does work. It's not very clear. I've looked through it, and when you do, you can see kind of more of a blur, but it definitely is magnifying what it's looking at. And of course, there's his chest plate turning into a little dish tray to put whatever specimen you desire on there. And yeah, I mean, it looks fine. I mean, the microscope mode has really, no faults to it. Like I said, it would just be cool if in the masterpiece version, they would need to add metal dials. Like that would be some really nice touches to add on the microscope and on his forearms that could turn. I mean, even on the forearms, if they don't work, which is fine, the fact that they kind of stick out more and turn would be great. Rather than this, they're just kind of painted on there and they're part of the mold. But here he is from different angles. Again, you can see the fact that he still has the tread tracks on the bottom of his legs, right on there. Underneath here, you can see there's the next hidden mode, the tank mode. So let me take you through that. And what you basically want to do here is you want to fold out these hidden pieces under his legs and then clamp down his feet to secure them. And it's interesting because I didn't even realize this. I took this for granted for so long. I was like, Preceptor is like the first triple changer type thing, And even before I was able to get like an official Springer that I really liked, or triple changer, I was like, Preceptor is technically one, right? And then you want to kind of flip the legs on over to the other side, and you want to still tab them back into the same place that they tabbed into from the front in microscope mode. But now they just have been turned and basically spun around to face the other end. And voila. You can see here he has clear plastic wheels, 3 contact points, and this allows him to roll. It's also, again, a nice little touch. And there you go. You can now imagine that the microscope from the other side is a cannon, and then the tank tracks still work there. I usually like to set up this guy. I do a little bit of an interesting touch to this, though. You can set this guy up right there, with the little tray as kind of like a chair or like a backstand, for him to use the cannon like that. Or you can take it another step further, what I like to do. Now, they generally recommend you to bring the tray out that far back. It's like a targeting system. So you can do that. And then what I like to do is I like to take his sniper rifle and place it on that little hole peg there. And then now on the top empty part actually works out. The hollow part turns into his chair, and boom, you have an extended cannon, and you can see the little sniper rifle stand right there at the bottom. And there he goes. You got the headmaster up there, shooting the extra sniper rifle, point blank, pow. In closing, I just want to say that this is a nice Perceptor to have in your collection. It's definitely going to be one of a kind. Titan's Return headmaster. And yeah, as you can see here, to make it a masterpiece or like a Studio Series version, they would obviously have to change and update the head sculpt to be way more accurate. The chest, I think it's kind of cool having the, again, etchings and details on the chest. The rest of the body, it's kind of at the limit for me. I think they can clean it up a little bit more and make it more smoother and simpler. But they didn't go over the top like, Takada Tomy has been doing with the mainline Transformers as of late. He does have the Autobot symbol on that lower kind of torso piece that doesn't really do much, as opposed to in the cartoon, it's on his actual like chest plate. And then there's more of a connection and a different arrangement in his waist right below the chest. But that doesn't look too bad at all on this Titan's Return version. So overall, this was a great release. Again, it does have notable key differences from the cartoon, if that's what you're into, or the animated movie. But I still think it's, again, an excellent choice. So if you can get one, cool. If not, hopefully they release the Masterpiece or Studio Series. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you got this? Which version of Preceptor is your favorite? I know there are third-party releases there that do a pretty good job of capturing what he does look like from the G1, but I'm still interested in a mainline release. All right, guys, Captain GameSet and the Super Fun Force will be back. Like, subscribe, get notified, and we'll be coming at you again.